They thought he was just a selfish and wicked boss. But what everyone didn't know was that the day they signed his employment letter, they also signed away their destinies. In the heart of the town, where tall buildings kissed the sky and traffic never slept, there was a huge firm that everybody knew, the Bellow Holdings. The building was the most beautiful in the whole area. From the outside, there were glass doors, golden letters, security guards that stood like statues. People passed and said, "Ah, that is where big people walk oh." And trust me when I say, people must always talk. One woman, Mama Kehinde, who sold granules by the roadside, would always say to her customers who cared to listen, "That man is very biased. Can you imagine that my second son, whose brain is hotter than a pot of rice on fire, was denied a job there? Can you imagine that?" And her customers would nod in pity. And then Mama Kehinde would continue again, this time wide-eyed. I don't even know if it is juju that he and his workers are using, but my God big past them. Every graduate in town who studied about business wished to secure a job in that firm. Suddenly, it felt like there were no better jobs than Bellow Holdings. But the sad and maybe creepy reality was that those who walked inside, they never smiled. The almighty Mr. Bellow was a wealthy man, powerful, feared, not respected, but feared. He wore expensive suits that never wrinkled. His shoes always shined brighter than some people's destinies. His voice was cold like early morning harmattan in an abandoned land. Whenever he walked into the office, conversations died. If you were laughing before he entered, you swallowed your laughter like garri without water. "Good morning, sir," a staff would greet. He would look at them like insects as tiny as ants. Sometimes he wouldn't even answer. Other times he would say dryly, "Is that how you greet your employer? Are you stupid?" People would laugh nervously, not because it was funny, but because fear had taught them how to. As for their salaries, that was a talk for another day. Sometimes it took up to 2 months, sometimes 3. When a staff complained, Mr. Bellow would shout, "If you are not satisfied with this job, look outside. The door is wide open for you to leave anytime. There are thousands outside begging to enter. Get out of my office now." And truly, people were always begging to work at his firm. Slowly and unannounced, inside the office, strange things began to happen. Bright people became dull. Confident workers forgot how to speak or make suggestions in meetings. Talented staff made very little mistakes and cried bitterly in the restroom. One cleaner, Mama Rose, once whispered to another staff, "Have you noticed that since I started working here, nothing in my life is moving again?" The other woman hissed loudly, "Abeg, don't talk rubbish. It's either stress or it's your village people that are fighting your destiny," she mocked. But deep down, they all felt it. Something was definitely wrong. Every new staff signed the same employment letter. It was long, too long. Nobody bothered to read it through. HR would say, "Just sign here, here and here." Once you signed, you felt a strange heaviness, like the weight of a concrete block was pulling you down. A heaviness that felt like something invisible sat on your chest. Some people felt dizzy on their first day. Others had sudden headaches. Mama Rose recalled the strange banging she felt in her head for 3 days from the very moment she stepped into Bellow Holdings. She rushed home to take anti-malaria and typhoid medication, but it felt like the banging became even worse. Some workers were terrified, but truth was, hunger doesn't listen to fear. Bills were waiting. One day, a certain lady applied for a job at Bellow Holdings. She was different. Her name was Jinta. She was a young lady in her late 20s. She had very sharp eyes. Her voice was as calm as a calm river on a harmattan night. It was graceful but not proud. Jinta had been jobless for months. When she got the job from Bellow Holdings, she knelt down and prayed, "God of mercy, if this job is not from you, scatter it." The next day, she walked into the firm. As she stepped inside, the air felt heavy. Something felt off. In the spiritual realm, forces were fighting hard, trying to dominate. She paused, looked around. Everyone looked tired, not physically tired, but spiritually. At that instant, Mr. Bellow saw her. His eyes lingered, not with lust, but with interest. Something in Jinta unsettled him. "What is your name?" he asked coldly, his eyes not leaving hers for a second. He stared too long, a bit creepy. "Jinta is my name, sir." He smiled forcefully. "You will work under finance." She nodded slowly as she walked away. Mr. Bellow smiled to himself, but not with joy, with calculation. On her first day at work, Jinta noticed things others ignored. When she stared at the clocks for a while, they stopped randomly. The staff, especially the senior staff, forgot simple things. One staff, named Bisi, forgot the road to her brother's house on his birthday. After they had made special plans to celebrate together, that day, she stood at the roadside acting like she had amnesia, until she called her brother, who located her and took her home. When the news reached her colleagues at work, it sounded crazy, but no one understood how serious it was. One guy, who worked in the finance sector, laughed out loudly, saying, "Sister Bisi, you don't suffer from amnesia at your age. Abi, is it your village people working against you?" Everyone laughed along with him. Another strange thing Jinta noticed was that in Bellow Holdings, people avoided mirrors. That was even creepier. The CEO's office door was always locked, even at night. No one dared going close to that side for risk of getting fired overnight. One evening, she stayed late. She heard chanting. It was low, more like a murmur. She stood wide-eyed. It was coming from Mr. Bellow's office. The next day, her colleague Kunle joked nervously, "Madam Jinta, abeg go. If you hear anything, don't look oh. This office is suffering from abnormality." Jinta laughed loudly. "You watch too many Nollywood movies." But her laughter faded quickly because Kunle wasn't smiling. He was terrified. That night, Jinta had a dream. In that dream, she saw people standing in a line, each holding a fowl. The building behind them looked dark and cobwebs surrounded them, but they were unbothered. Mr. Bellow stood before them with a pen dripping blood. As each person signed, a light left their chest and entered Mr. Bellow's body. Then he grinned widely. Jinta woke up screaming. Sweat soaked her bed. A week later, she mistakenly entered the archive room. Mr. Bellow had gone to visit a client. The archive room was dark and unsettling. Hidden behind files was a door. It was locked but slightly open. Jinta pushed the door slowly. Inside, there were red candles. Even worse, there were names written on the walls in red ink. Jinta recognized those names. Kunle, Bisi, Ronke, Janet. Those were names of her colleagues, staff names. There were dates along each names, employment dates of each employee. What was strange was that her name wasn't there yet. She wondered why. She started praying quietly at her desk. Things started to change. Something reacted. The light flickered occasionally. That afternoon, Mr. Bellow called her into his office. He stared at her coldly, like a predator looking at a prey that wants to outsmart fate. He said with a surprisingly calm voice, "What are you doing, Miss Jinta?" "Working, sir," she replied. He leaned closer. "You don't belong here. Do you hear me clearly?" She didn't flinch. Jinta looked him straight in the eye. "Sir, neither do you." And that was all. For the first time, Mr. Bellow stepped back. An unseen bullet from nowhere had hit him. From that day, he followed her movements. He was too terrified to fire her. An enemy you know is better than a friend you do not know. So, keeping her close was better to suppress her and her intentions. Jinta prayed harder. She prayed for longer hours every midnight. Her prayers weakened his control. Slowly, staff began to regain clarity. One cried suddenly during a meeting. Another shouted, "Why am I here?" Another one shouted suddenly, "Who are you? Where is my CV?" Chaos started from that very moment. One night, Jinta confronted Mr. Bellow inside his office. "I see. So you steal destinies, sir." He laughed mockingly, but fear lived in his eyes. "You are too late." Jinta cut in sharply but calmly. "No, sir. I came exactly on time, and sad to say, your time is up." The candles blew out. Screams echoed loudly. Hidden voices unseen. And the firm began to collapse from within. That night, Bellow Holdings did not sleep. The light flickered violently. The generator refused to start again. Security guards ran out in all directions like people looking for their missing destinies. They screamed, claiming they saw shadows moving against the walls. Inside his office, Mr. Bellow stood alone. He stood like a molded sculpture. For the first time, he was afraid. He slammed his desk. Enough! The candles relit themselves, but weaker. He checked the walls. Names were disappearing. Kunle's name vanished. Mama Rose's name disappeared. His breath shook. No, no, no. This cannot be happening. Flashback. Years ago, Mr. Bellow was not always rich. He was once a very poor, angry man. He felt the world was against him and owed him everything. He was rejected, mocked, ignored. His life was full of misery, and that misery made him cantankerous, so troublesome, even to the point of hating everything about life. He hated children, he hated animals, he hated women, he hated Christmas. He never got married, he hated every little thing. Until one man with brown teeth from chewing too much tobacco messaged him one night. A man without a shadow. "I can give you influence," the man said, "but there is a price for it. You must always remember to fill the altar." "How?" Mr. Bellow asked nervously. "People's destinies," the old man replied coldly. "You have to steal the star in every person that works in your firm. You must take that which gives them a reason to dream big. Use that to feed the altar, and all your misery will be gone." And so, from that day, Bellow Holdings was born, a legal firm with an illegal spiritual foundation. Jinta knelt alone in her room, crying, not loud but silent tears, because now she knew. She was not just fighting a wicked boss, she was fighting a system of darkness, principalities and dark power. Her phone rang. It was Kunle. "Madam, I don't know what is happening, no. I finally remember my dreams again." Mama Rose called too. "My daughter, praise God. Since yesterday, I slept peacefully for the first time. This is marvelous." Jinta wiped her tears. "God, don't let me fail them." The very next morning, Mr. Bellow arrived, possessed with rage. He fired 5 staff instantly. "Get out!" People cried, some rolling on the floor. One man fainted. Jinta stood up. "You cannot be doing this, sir." He laughed mockingly. "This firm is my altar. You are all sacrifices, all of you," he yelled. There was silence. People stared blankly. That was when he realized what he said. It was too late. Whispers filled the office. "Did you hear him? He said altar. So it is true." The fear that once silenced them now turned into anger. Files corrupted. Accounts vanished. Contracts cancelled mysteriously. Investors withdrew, one by one. It was all mysterious. His evil had finally met the light. Mr. Bellow screamed at his laptop. "Come back here. Please, this cannot be so." But money has ears and it heard the truth. Kunle broke down in the office. Hey, Eba Miyo. I wanted to be an engineer. I forgot. What am I doing here? Somebody help me, yo. Mama Rose cried. My children stopped respecting me since I started working here. She cried bitterly. People sobbed. They didn't cry for salaries. They cried for wasted years. They cried for being spiritually blind for so many years. All the years they suffered and worked for Bellow Holdings. Years filled with misplaced destinies and direction. Jacinta hugged Mama Rose. It is not over. That night, Mr. Bellow prepared one last ritual. One last desperate one. He needed a strong destiny. Jacinta's. He summoned her to the office late at night. She came. But she didn't come alone. She came with prayers. The room shook violently. Powers were against each other. It was a spiritual war, and the weaker power would bow eventually. Darkness gathered. Kneel, he commanded. Jacinta stood firm, staring at him with confidence. I kneel only to God, not a mere mortal. The altar cracked. Shadows screamed. Voices shouted from nowhere. At that moment, Mr. Bellow transformed. His eyes red. His voice was layered. You ruined everything, young lady. Get ready for your destiny to be destroyed forever. Ha 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 ha. Jacinta shouted prayers, more prayers, violently. With all the strength she had in her, she didn't back down. She prayed in tongues of fire. The names on the walls burst into flames. The building trembled. The ground was shaking vigorously, like something mighty was about to overtake it all. And just then, suddenly, there was silence. The altar collapsed. Mr. Bellow fell, weak, human, empty. He crawled on all fours towards Jacinta. Help me, please, he pleaded. Nobody moved. For once, he was invisible. He was helpless. No longer the proud man they once reverenced. Now, he was just a nobody. Police sirens wailed outside. Evidence surfaced. Whistleblowers spoke. Mr. Bellow was arrested. Shame written all around him, dragging his expensive attire across the floor. Weeks later, Bellow Holdings was shut down. Staff slowly healed. Kunle enrolled back in school. Mama Rose opened a small shop. Jacinta resigned quietly. She didn't stay for praise. She left to find purpose for her life. As she walked past the building one last time, she whispered, "Destiny is not for sale." Bellow Holdings, the once vibrant and glorified firm, the business every graduate prayed for day and night to be accepted as a staff, had now become a haunted place. The building stood empty, silent and broken. The moral of this story is this: some jobs pay money, others cost you your soul. Choose wisely. Happy New Year, besties! This is 2026, a year of unexplainable success and greatness. Get ready to experience your best year yet. This new year, put God first in all you do. Pray for the spirit of discernment. Be careful of where your feet walk through. Be nice to each other. Remember also that all things are possible if you just believe. With that being said, I wish you the very best this new year. Much love from Vivy to you. Until you hear from me again, take care and bye.